we've got a variety of oyster mushroom that I foraged from the New Forest. This is straight from the ancient woodlands. This is the best quality native wild mushroom that we can have, so we're going to be using them growing in. You can get commercial strain ones which are good for indoor growing. This should be perfect for outdoor growing on its native wood, beech wood. Log culture is quite long to grow. You've got a lot of material, so the mushroom has to take at least a year, sometimes even 2 depending on size, to grow through the material. So this is more of a long term, so we're going to put this in. It may be a year until we start seeing some mushrooms. But the good thing about this wood is there's a lot of material in here. There's a really heavy log, so this will last for upwards of 5+ years. Every year we'll fruit mushrooms at the same time of year in autumn. And like I said, this is done for thousands of years in China historically. It's quite labour intensive, as you guys will find out in a bit. But it's great to get a nice workshop together, and we'll get in and get hot on a nice cold day. So within mushroom cultivation you get a tiny bit of mycelium, and step 1 is adding it to grain. This is a wheat grain. This is full of energy. This is like superfood for mycelium. You have to grow this in sterile conditions, so this is where people like myself come in. I can produce this up in a sterile lab, get good quality grain. So this is our oyster mushroom. This is the sawdust that we'll be packing into the holes. Like I said, you can do things like shiitake with this. You can do reishi mushroom as well, which is really highly medicinal. Chicken of the woods, people go for lion's mane. There's quite some cool mushrooms that you can all grow on these logs. So generally you buy your spawn from a spawn supplier, and they'll come in these bags, a couple of kilos per bag, and at that point you can then do all of the rest of the operation yourself. So I'm just breaking up the sawdust to be able to go into the holes. These logs were got from a beech tree that fell down just in the church grounds over here, like a stone's throw away. And that was about a month ago. Rather than we're not felling down, we're not sort of taking trees away from the environment. It's just a natural process, storm blown. With log culture, you want to be using them no more than sort of 6 weeks after it's been cut, and that just minimises the chance of any other organisms coming in and living off the wood before you put your mushroom in. The best sort of hole pattern is like a diamond pattern, roughly about 4 to 6 inches apart. So we've got these sticks here with your size guide on it, so you don't need to guess or anything like that. So you sort of put one hole there, second hole here, and just go straight down the middle of the log. This sort of size of log is kind of a really good size of log to use. The thicker it is, the longer it's going to take to grow through, and the speed at which it colonises is quite important. If it takes too long, you might get another organism coming in and also contaminating it and growing through it. So this sort of size is really good. This is a specialised drill bit for mushroom log cultivation. This is a 12mm wide, 8mm deep, and it has a stop on it. So you can just sort of push it in and I'll go down the right depth. On your other drill bits, we can maybe draw like a little line around them just so you get the sort of depth there. Like I said, to create a diamond pattern, just flip it on its side and start and sort of alternate from it, so you'll create that diamond pattern. Kind of the more holes that you put, the quicker they'll grow, because you're putting more material in there. Okay, so now we have our holes. We need to somehow get this sawdust, which has got the mycelium living in it, into the holes. So we're just going to use a really simple funnel method. So just sort of put it over the hole and just poke the material into that hole until we get some resistance there. As you pull out, now you can see here, so you've got a nice, just underneath the line. You don't want it sticking out like a mountain, but you don't also want it to be like a, you know, a hole where it's far in. So you want to kind of fill it up. There we go. Just do a couple of them. It is pH 14. Right. So next we've got wax. This wax has actually come from the beehives that the grounder community look after. It's great that we can have sort of a circular sort of economy and use these, you know, the resource from the bees locally. So you need to get some wax and just simply pop it over. The idea behind the wax is that you're stopping any bacteria or spores on the wind or any bugs from eating it out. And again, this has been traditionally done in Japan for thousands of years in this exact method. You'd want to use any natural wax. You wouldn't want to use any petroleum, paraffin based wax, because this is a food that you're eating, so you know, try and keep things as organic as possible. So this is sort of covered all around the hole, and maybe a little bit more on that one. There we go. So you get roughly a third of the weight of this log back in edible mushrooms over its lifespan, but that could take a few years. So it's not 1 year you're suddenly going to get loads and loads of kilos of mushrooms. It will be over an extended time. And then when they're done, they're just nice rotten wood for you to use as your mulch. And you know, so I like this method because all you're doing is you're intercepting nature from decomposing it, and you're just taking a really valuable quality organic food resource from it, and you're just sort of speeding up the decomposition process. So you're not really damaging the environment in any such way. You're just sort of intercepting it, taking a resource, putting back to the earth. So I like that.